Hello everyone, my name's Sam Metcalf. I'm the Midlands editor at thebusinessdesk.com and welcome to our latest webinar. Today, in conjunction with BEM Services, we'll be looking at how business owners can meet the challenges of the energy price rises already hitting many sectors. The latest soaring energy prices will affect everyone, from both personally and commercially, and organisations are finding themselves in unfamiliar territory. Today, we're going to hear from a panel of experts on how businesses can face up to increasing energy costs and how they can hopefully lower their bills. Before we meet the panelists, there's a chance for you in the audience to get involved if you're logging in live today. If you have a question for any of our experts, please type it in using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and I'll do my best to come to you and get it answered. Okay, let's meet our specialists. I'll go from my top left on my screen. So Kirsty, please, who you are and where you come from.
Thank you, Sam. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kirsty Davies-Chinnock. I'm the Managing Director of Professional Polishing Services Limited. We're a manufacturing business in the West Midlands. I'm also the chair of the British Stainless Steel Association and sit on the UK Metals Council.
Thanks, Kirsty. Simon, please.
Morning, everyone. I'm Simon Key. I am one of the partners in the commercial dispute resolution team at Nelson Solicitors. The bulk of my work really is complex contractual claims and specialising largely in the manufacturing sector. So energy is a really key focus for a lot of our clients at the moment.
Thanks, Simon. And Adam, please.
Good morning. Thanks, Sam. So I'm Adam Young. I'm Digital Marketing and Sales Director at U Energy. U Energy is a challenger supplier. Our customers are B2B, supplying energy, gas and water.
Thanks, Adam. Last but not least, Mark.
Yeah, morning all. Mark Boardman, Managing Director of BEM Services, set up 7 years ago, and we're supplying various clients like architects, developers, estates managers with engineering advice. And all that engineering advice could be electrical, mechanical, so that's your lighting and your heating. We also do a little bit of work on structural civil as well. So we've got guys who can look at the fabric of the building and the structure of the building, bring it all into one and supplying those clients with engineering advice.
Thanks, everybody. Okay, let's kick off with our discussion. Mark, I'm going to come back to you first, if that's okay. We've heard a lot about the energy price rises and the so-called crisis in that sector. How real do you think it is as a business owner yourself, and when you're talking to clients as well? How real is the energy price crisis at the moment?
Yeah, very real. We see it from small scale businesses up to sort of public sector work that we do, all suffering, all questioning where to go. And that's one of the reasons for setting this up was to get people who can have knowledge of this and know which way to go, because there's lots of people out there with worries, concerns, and not know who to speak to. So it is affecting everybody. It's the bottom line that affects. It's your running costs, it's the production costs, all mount up because of the energy rise, and there's no hiding from it. If you can reduce it, if you can control it, it affects your profits and it affects the output of the business. So it's really important that it's got to be reacted to. We can't just sit there and let it rise. It's got to be looked at, creating that better productivity, protecting our profits. Like I said, yeah, it's affecting all industries, and it's really affecting them. Yeah.
Kirsty, give us your first-hand experience.
We're at under contract, so we're quite lucky at the moment. However, looking at the numbers of the government's energy price cap, if we were to be paying that moving forward, we would still be increasing our energy spend by about £70,000 or £80,000 a year, which is a lot better than the numbers prior to the price cap that we were seeing. I know of one company that paid around about £300,000 a year for their energy, and when they renewed, it went up to 1.2 million. So obviously it's come back down now with the energy price cap, but these are huge demands for SMEs who are quite energy intensive. So what we're doing is hopefully learning from the people who've gone before and have sort of been hit with this over the last 6 to 12 months, And we're looking at energy solutions going forwards in a 3-pronged attack. We're looking to become completely self-sufficient by 2024 in producing clean renewable energy. We're looking at energy efficiency through not wasting energy, and we're looking at changing aspects of our process. We're working with several universities to become more energy efficient.
Okay, Kirsty. Simon and Adam, from your client's perspective, what are you hearing? Simon, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, it goes to everything, doesn't it? It reaches all aspects of business, because liquidity cash is king, if you like, and what we are seeing is a much more cautious marketplace, really. So where you have clients who were looking at mergers and acquisitions or property prospects and those sorts of things, it's just causing people to press pause. And so the natural unfortunate upshot of that is there is much more business being done. So it's that self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it, of people are disinclined to spend, which doesn't help the economic situation at all, really. It's a sort of a freezing of cash moving around.
Yeah. And Adam.
It might be useful if I kind of quantify some average numbers that we're seeing, because we see precisely what our customers are paying, precisely what the cost is that's coming into our business. So I just looked at some examples yesterday, because the electricity and gas market, looking back in time, has been pretty stable up to last autumn, and then off it goes towards the sky. And I think a lot of businesses are still in the same position that Kirsty describes, still in contracts that they might have signed 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So if I give you an example of a small business, if you'd signed up your gas contract 3 years ago, a small business might be paying $2,500 for that gas supply. At the absolute peak, which was in August of this year, that same amount of gas would have cost £20,000. So you've got almost a 10x if you contracted at the absolute peak. That's come down now, so that's almost halved. So that 2,200 now would be 10,200. So more like a 4x, but it's still a catastrophic increase for many businesses. Electricity is not quite as extreme, but still horrible numbers that most businesses are looking at, and that kind of ratio still applies. You're looking at if coming off a 3-year deal, you're probably paying 4 or 5 times as much as you were historically. The other thing to add that I think a lot of people don't appreciate is the effect of volatility. So the market is used to a kind of stable price, and the way people buy assumes you can ask for a price today and your supply will still honor it a week later. That just doesn't work anymore in the market that we're in, because you see intraday swings of 20-30%. There's absolutely crazy volatility going on. So people do need to think about the impact of that volatility on how they buy as well.
Yeah, and using the sort of metrics you've got in front of you, then are you seeing businesses still running comfort systems more than necessary, do you think? Is that happening?
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to generalize about what people are doing, because I think many businesses are really in control of those kind of systems. But I see plenty of examples of people who are not at all. And I think the thing I'd encourage people to do, I think it's that, as with any kind of management intervention that you want to make, you need to have the data to tell you whether you are running those systems unnecessarily or not. And if you're going to do that, you have to have smart metering, you have to have the data, and you have to have the analytics capability to understand, when in the day you're incurring energy costs. So if you don't have a smart meter in, go get one. Go get yourself an analytics package and understand where you're spending your money.
Is this something
I think Adam makes Adam makes a really important point there. I know an office-based business, and they analyse their data, and they were spending 20% of their energy when they were shut, because people were leaving computers on standby and all that sort of thing. And there was no one in the office. It was weekends and evenings, and it was just a pure waste, but they didn't know they were wasting it.
There's been quite high profile, I think Simon and Mark will probably have picked up on this, about the HMRC building in Nottingham. That's been, I think the quote was, lit up like a Christmas tree at night.
Yeah.
With all the lights on, and there was, some figures about how much it was costing, wasn't there, Simon and Mark? And
Yeah.
those kind of things, I guess, are wasted a lot of cash and a lot of energy.
It should, yeah, if that building's been designed properly, the lighting system should just come on when it's needed. It's clear a problem there. I think I'll just go back to Adam's point about smart metering. What we can do, instead of smart metering at the gas meter or electric meter, you can sub meter, so you can monitor usage in different parts of a building or different areas of a site. For example, electrical, you have a clamp on meters. You put a clamp around the electrical cable, and that monitors how much energy is going through that electrical cable. And it's similar for hot water as well. If you put a meter around a hot water pipe, you can use a heat meter to see how much heat energy has been taken down that hot pipe. So we can meter a bit more accurately using these strap-on or clamp-on meters. And if you did it for maybe a month's period, you'll get a good idea of where your energy usage is, and yeah, we can advise from there. So something we can proactively do is monitor sub-meters.
I think obviously building on what Mark says there as well, offices are very different places these days with hybrid working and home working and that sort of thing. And I suspect a common mistake is people are heating large buildings with sort of a handful of people on each floor, whereas if you can get the analytics right and work out how many people you really need in at any one time, you can focus the energy in the right spots and make it quite a decent saving there.
Okay. So, Kirsty, are you looking at alternative forms of energy at the moment?
Yeah, we are at the moment. So, I've fell down sort of an energy rabbit hole the last 12 months or so, and we've looked at everything from voltage optimization to CHP units, to solar, to wind, and we'll be launching hopefully our project next year. But these things take an awful lot of investment, and when you're an SME, that money has to come from somewhere, and it's difficult to find support. We're based in the Black Country, and the Greater Birmingham LEP has support available for investment in green energy, and the Black Country doesn't. And I'm literally the wrong side of the A41 for grants on that. So it's difficult to find. Signposting those grants could be easier. But yeah, I always said that my legacy when I retired would be a carbon neutral factory. And I've not done anything about it sort of in the last 5 years, because it was much more interesting to buy a new machine and expand and look at growing. So this energy crisis in a way has actually forced my hand. So it's not all doom and gloom. There are a lot of SMEs out there working on new technologies. So for us, we're an SME, we turn over a couple of million quid. We had a press release go out last week about measuring our carbon footprint and actually being able to provide information to our clients on the CO2 produced for everything we polish. The same day that Outokumpu Stainless Steel, who are a multi-billion-pound company, one of the biggest European stainless steel mills, released the same press release saying that they could now calculate the carbon footprint on the stainless steel that they produce. So SMEs are doing the same thing as the big players, but obviously on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
I think I can say that there's a lot of businesses at the moment that I think are really feeling that pinch between the net zero agenda and their own balance sheet, and taking that path towards net zero inevitably consumes cash. and it's it's a really difficult choice. So we sell brown energy and green energy, and give customers the choice to know which box they're going to tick and which they're going to choose. And I see a lot of customers at the moment really finding that choice difficult, that they their business is financially under pressure and doing what they want to do, which is to buy the green option. It's just not as easy a decision as it was before the energy crisis.
Mm.
Long term, it should pay off long term financially as well as carbon footprint wise. It should pay off long term. It's just having that capital up front, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, so I say we turn over £2 million a year, and the project we're planning for next year will cost roughly £1 million, which is huge for somebody our size. It is.
But if you planned ahead, will that pay back over a certain period?
Yeah, we've planned for that.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. I mean, as Adam's just said, you've got the choice between brown energy and green energy, and we all want green energy. But if push came to shove and the only way to keep the machines running was me to fill a generator with red diesel, would I do it? Yes. Don't want to, but I would, because it's about the continued success and life of our business. Please don't make me do that.
Well, you wouldn't be alone, Kirsty. I've been in a number of conversations with customers who are planning exactly that, and parking up tankers full of diesel to run generators seems just an utterly perverse
Ridiculous
situation to be in. But that's where many businesses are right now.
I think, as I understand it from various people in the industry, the generator market is booming at the moment because not only costs implications, but fear of blackouts and that sort of thing. People are looking for backup contingency plans in that sense. So, and I suppose another layer on top of the green versus brown situation is that tendering for work and dealing with larger companies now. We see clients are having to justify their green credentials as part of the process. So it's not a binary choice in terms of what works best for you. It's wider than that, because you you have to play the game, so to speak, to make sure that you are winning work for future projects.
When will the cost of all this come down then, do we think? Or is that the sort of like golden question? Mark?
When will the cost come down? I don't know, probably not an expert on that bit. I'd maybe better answer that. But at the moment, what I've seen, just thinking about that long-term payment thing, is the because the price has risen, your payback period on investment will be much quicker. So if you're investing $1 million, it should pay back in a short time than longer. So with the prices high, your payback's quicker. But as for when it will come down, over to you, Adam.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I haven't brought my crystal ball with me either. But I think what I've seen over the last year is a lot of businesses seeing these horrendous increases in price and saying to themselves, "Oh, it can't possibly get any worse, and I'll just put in a short-term contract, and we'll have another go in 6 months, and it can't be worse than it is," and then it is worse. And then doing the same again, and then doing the same again. So, will it come down? There is a fundamental lack of supply of energy generation in this country and across the world. So, whilst you might say that if the Ukraine-Russia situation were to resolve, you'd expect that to have a downwards impact on price. But it's this isn't an energy crisis created by a war in Ukraine. It's exacerbated by it, but we have long-term fundamental underinvestment over decades, and that's the base reason why the price is high. And until the government sorts that out, prices are likely to stay high. So I don't know. There's volatility and a bit. If you're looking to secure your energy supply, I think businesses need to think about risk and what they can afford. And if they look at the price today and think, I can carry on existing at the price it is today, then maybe you should secure a long-term contract. If you can't, then maybe you're taking a shorter term gamble on it than fixing for a shorter period of time. And then there's the further uncertainty about, come April, the government support scheme is going to change, and we don't know what that looks like. So it's very difficult. And if I could have my magic crystal ball in front of me and tell everyone what's coming, I would, but who knows?
Okay. Kirsty, you say you're driving towards net zero, and that's your big ambition. How has that changed the way, or how will that change, or is it happening? How will that change the way the business operates?
Fundamentally, it won't. There will be some small changes, adjustments to machines. We've done the low-hanging fruits, sort of the LED lights and things like that. But fundamentally, it won't change what we do and how we do it. We'll just be doing it and not using power from the grid, pretty much. I think a lot of the investments we've made in new machinery are helping on the route to net zero, because the machines are a lot more efficient. They are quicker to produce the finishes that we need. Things like linear bearings as opposed to mechanical bearings, all those small improvements have helped. We're looking at lots of different things with regards to developments, but we're still rubbing sandpaper on stainless steel to make it shiny. But now we're sort of running projects with the University on Swansea on heat transfer, and projects we've just done with Birmingham University on carbon footprints, and we've got probably about 4 or 5 different projects on the go. So it's small incremental changes that will add up rather than reinventing the wheel.
Imagine you monitor a lot more now, Kirsty, than you would have done in the past. You must have a better view of what you're using and what you aim to use in the future. So monitoring is a change that's got to be done across all businesses.
I think the one thing I would recommend everyone to do is to do an energy audit. Whether you do it yourself, you can get your half-hour data from your contract, whether you've got smart meter, however you do it. Silly things like when our guys go on break, they turn the radio off. Just something little like that. If you've got 20 machines and 20 people at them, all with a radio, all going on break at different times, don't leave the radio playing for half an hour while you go and eat your lunch in the canteen. Just turn it off. And just little things like that. It's getting people's engagement to do that.
Yeah, there's needs buy-in from the staff, doesn't it? Everyone's got to be on the same page. And the monitoring creates data which then you can react to. So you'll be able to pick out areas that might need improvement. You might want to insulate a certain room. You might use that room less, things like that. So monitoring and reacting to that data is so important.
One thing I've started to see some customers do is pay real attention to their day-night rate, because often people will be paying much less money for their nighttime electricity than they do for their daytime electricity, and changing shift patterns, changing production schedules to put the load on the cheaper electricity is certainly something we see people doing.
Simon, do you think there should be more carrot or more stick to get businesses to do these kind of things? Does there need to be more legislation? You'd probably say yes, but
well, it's a very difficult balance. But I suspect what businesses want is more carrot. I think, particularly in the manufacturing sector, they would like to see deregulation or grants or incentives to invest in green energy and that sort of thing, because it's very obviously the future in terms of if you can get your business correct in terms of the logistics and the infrastructure, there is a lot of money to be made if you are sustainable and you're focusing on the right sort of innovative green projects. But as I say, I think businesses need some help with having confidence that that's the right way to go, because I think everybody has the best intentions, but they are naturally at the moment cautious in terms of spending money or investing or moving their processes in that direction if they aren't going to have the help there. So I think certainly in that sense, I would say carrot rather than stick, because if you just try to tell people that they must change their ways, I think again what you get is more of a sense of people hunkering down and just trying to save for the future rather than prospecting, so to speak.
Yeah,
I think that's right, Simon. But in practice, what's coming is an awful lot of stick, isn't there? Because in the cost of carbon is only going to go one direction for the next couple of decades, and tens of billions of cost are going to be kind of planned in by the government to be kind of taxed out of businesses for carbon costs, and that's all stick, unfortunately.
Kirsty, you mentioned staff buy-in. I think Mark, you did too. Can you just give us anecdotal evidence about how you've gone about that and how important it is to get everybody on board?
I think one of the things that's been noticeable with the energy crisis and impacting people at home is it doesn't make it a sort of academic exercise. They're seeing their own prices go up, and they understand when you say, can you turn the radio off when you go for break and things like that. And a lot of it hasn't actually come as an edict. It's conversational. They're looking for ways that they can positively impact on reducing energy themselves. And it's just generally a topic of conversation. We're a small company, there's 25, 26 of us. And I've been, perfectly honest and blunt, and in our sort of like monthly reports to the team, it's like, okay, we're under contract for X amount of time. So in the short term, we don't have to worry. We've got plans going forward for the long term. But just to give you an example, if we were to renew today, our 100 grand a year electric bill would be £500,000. And it puts it into perspective, people. It's about communication. It's about being open. And I don't see that information like that shouldn't be shared, because it benefits all of us for us to have plans to communicate with the team and to get their input. They run these machines day in, day out. They know them better than I do. They're the experienced people. I want their advice. I want them to say, why don't we look at doing this instead? And then going back to Mark's point, you can change working practices slightly, and you can see from the data collected what impact that's had, positive or negative.
Kirsty, do you find that do your colleagues kind of relate more to the cost side of this equation or to the green side? Are they finding this, the higher price is more motivating in kind of helping the business financially, or are they thinking of the planet?
Honestly, I'd say it was probably both, 50-50. On the one hand, yes, they're looking at the cost because they're watching their smart meters at home. And on the other side of the coin, when you're looking at the planet, a lot of them are fairly young. They've got young families. So they're concerned about, they've got 8 or 9-year-olds, and they're looking at numbers that are being thrown about in the press that this will have happened by 2050, and they're going, well, actually, my daughter will be in the 30s then. That's quite scary. And so they're relating it to both.
Mark, did you want to come back on what?
Yeah, just on a sort of step up from that, from what staff need to change and how they're reacting with technology, then it can be the onerousness, if that's my word, if that's the word, it is should be reduced. For example, a good telemetry system can understand where the staff are in the building and change the heating and the ventilation to that area pretty much instantly. So they'll see an increase in carbon dioxide in a room. That means people in there, you're breathing out. You can monitor that gas level. Okay, there's 20 people-ish in this room. We need to ventilate that better. They're not sat at the desks, they're in the meeting room. Let's ventilate that better. And these things can be automated a lot better with data. So yeah, it's all about people changing their activities. It can be automated as well going forward, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Adam, come to you. There's been a lot talked about over the last, I'll say 2 or 3 prime ministers about government support for both domestically and for businesses. Do you think enough has been done by the government to support businesses or not?
I think that I'll give some grudging support in the short term. So I think the scheme that's been put in was a relief to businesses across the country, and if it wasn't for that, there would be businesses failing all over the place. So I think probably some credit's due for them going fast and going big with the scheme that they put in. But longer term, this is an energy crisis caused by failure of government policy. Not just the however many prime ministers we've had in the last few weeks, but for decades, we've underinvested. We've had short-term energy policies. We've moved on a green agenda and not developed a backup plan. So I think the government is really culpable for the situation that we're in, and we're not going to get out of this mess by throwing money at it and endless billions being given to businesses to prop up prices. We need a long-term sustainable energy policy. Ofgem have got a lot to do to make the regulatory environment kind of suitable as well. So short-term tick, long-term awful.
I'll come to you in a minute, Kirsty, about what you think. Simon, just get your perspective on that.
Well, yeah, I just echo what's just been said, really. I think definitely in terms of the long-term thinking, that's where it's fallen down. And you look at the sort of underinvestment in the wider infrastructure that we've seen for years, and the reliance on, I suppose it's the school of thought that whilst we could get the gas supply from elsewhere, everything would be fine, and it's not stacked up like that. And ultimately, unfortunately, it's businesses that are going to pay the price of that.
Kirsty, you must have lots to say on this.
Adam summarised it perfectly. We need joined up thinking. We need an industrial strategy, which we don't have. We need to look at green energy as a strategy. We look at how it will work with the current infrastructure. We need to look at how that will be improved. We need to look at other aspects as well, like water. There has been a dearth of reinvestment in the UK's most important industries when it comes to energy and water. We got rid of the gas storage. All of these things sort of created a perfect storm. And I think it's also incredibly worrying that by the end of next year, all of the EU laws are on a bill in Parliament at the moment to be thrown out. So that could also have issues with environmental laws that we have to work to at the moment if they're being scrapped. And again, I don't think there's been enough research done into these hundreds of laws that are just going to disappear, that are going to have an impact on energy and the environment as well. I'm glad that we're investing more in nuclear, but we've gone too slow in that arena as well.
Mark.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the government investment needs to be quite targeted, I think, going forward. It can be too general sometimes. It's got to be, I think going to start now educating people about saving energy in their homes. Well, some similar could be done for businesses, educating people on COVID when it came around, things like that. That was all suddenly put out there, and I think information on energy saving should be just as important and driven home just as much, because a lot of these savings, financial savings, can be made with little investment. It's just that monitoring, reduce usage, insulate, monitor again, review, and move forward. Lots can be done without big investment, but yeah, big investment is needed. Just give an example. Just yesterday, we were just asked to help 4 new dwellings. They want car charging points on them. Obviously, those would need more power. So with that increase in power into those houses, you need this new substation down the road. And these 4 houses now are expected to pay pretty much for most of that new substation that's needed down the road. And that's happened all across the country. So it's just disincentivizing people to have that electric car there, because they've got to pay for the network to get it to their charging point. So that's got to be looked at, and lots of examples like that I could use, but that's just one particular example of disincentive. It's more expensive, and they probably won't go for it now. I'll just have normal electrical connections with no car charging points.
Yeah. Adam, just one more point on this. You're a listed company, a major sort of commercial utilities provider. Does the government ever ask you for your advice or opinion? Or ask them, not you personally, the company, but
with the recent kind of energy bill relief scheme, there was a very brief opportunity to be consulted in that, but by brief I mean days. So, but longer term policy, no, not really, no.
Okay,
the industry lobbies collectively, I think, is the way that works.
Okay. Should be the other way around though, shouldn't it? They should be coming to you, really.
Yes.
We've got about 5 minutes left, so I'm just going to go round robin of you all, probably starting with you, Simon, if that's okay. What one piece of advice would you give both business owners to help them with their energy costs over the next few months through the winter?
I think it's get the basics right. And I know it sounds obvious, but there's a lot of common sense things that businesses can do. And as I alluded to right at the start, really, it all will boil down to liquidity at the end of the day. And many a large turnover business has failed because they've had lack of cash funds available. So little things like tightening your credit control procedures and making sure that you are chasing debts as much as possible, which is all going to put you in a better position to meet those larger bills when they come in. So it's good business practice, really.
Okay. Kirsty.
Explore with local universities projects that you can bring in-house to look at how you can improve. Even if it's only a small tweak here and there, it's going to give you new ideas. These projects are nearly always financed, so it's not going to cost you a lot of money. It might be a grant match or something, but be innovative and look at doing new things, even if it's only, tweaking something on a machine, changing from mechanical to linear bearings, because all these things do add up.
Okay, thanks, Kirsty. Adam.
I'd say I'd probably advise businesses to thinking a bit longer term about their energy supply contract. There's so many who I suspect will leave things right to the last minute for the end of the government support scheme. And in a volatile market, you totally expose yourself to whatever the price happens to be at that moment. So thinking ahead and planning ahead, I think, is hugely important. And don't just let yourself roll along out of contract. So many businesses do that. So look at what's out there in the market. Switch, get yourself a good deal, but don't leave it to the last minute.
Okay. Finally, Mark.
Yeah, my advice would be have a stepped process to your tackling the issue. Monitor what you're doing, and then reduce the demand in your area. Whether it's less volume, less water, whatever it is, reduce that demand. Use better equipment. Look at equipment using, can it be more efficient, and then review again and monitor some more, and keep through that process over time, and it will have the maybe small effects to start with, but once you start picking out the key areas, you'll be able to save some real savings in there. That'd be my advice.
Thanks, Mark. Right, we'll leave it there because I think, you know, we've covered a lot of ground there. What will be really interesting to come back in about a year's time, wouldn't it? And see where everybody is then. We'll try and arrange that. But anyway, thank you to those who tuned in today. Thank you to those who watch this on our website in the next week or so. Thank you to Mark from BEM for sponsoring today's webinar, and thank you very much for all your input from the audio, from the panel. Sorry. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.